So you mentioned your role as board chair of RBF. I'd love for you to talk about what it means to serve as a board chair, some of the lessons and reflections that you take away from this role, because there are so many people out in the virtual audience today who are board chairs and are wondering, what else can they be doing in their role that might help the family move forward. So if you can share some thoughts on that, that would be great.
And I will say, for people who have not yet been given the opportunity to chair a board and may not picture themselves in that role, I will say that when I was asked to become chair of the board, I resisted and had to be convinced, because I was like, I'm a classroom teacher, right? Like I don't, and my predecessor, who was tragically killed in a plane crash, Richard Rockefeller, was a doctor. He was incredibly funny and philosophical, and he could just stand up and say amazing things, off the cuff. And I was like, I don't do anything without a script. And also, I don't think I do that well with adults even, most of my professional life. And it's actually, so it took a little confidence boosting, not convincing, because I was excited to play the role. And also just frankly, in how these things are all personal decisions too. I had 3 kids and was debating a 4th, and then thought, I don't know, am I ready to do, something? And I'm glad that I went for the chairmanship rather than the 4th kid at this point. I will say now they're 11, 13, 15, and they're great fun, but I'm, there are joys and challenges along the way. So you may not picture yourself in that role, but I will say what, in my experience of being chair, is just something that I do love, is that you realize your job is to say as little as possible and to bring out other people's voices and to just structure conversations. And I thought, that's not that different from classrooms, right? It's like keeping on schedule. It's making sure everyone, the work you're doing can be meaningful for everyone in the room. And so it's more sort of like management in some ways than like standing up and making brilliant speeches, which I could never have done, that just wasn't, and you chair the way that suits your personality, I think too. But I do think also processes are really, really important. Like, I think it's important to go in executive session after every single meeting. I think it's important to do evaluation of the CEO. I think it's important to have, if it's a larger foundation, ways for the board to interact with all members of the staff, which may not happen so naturally. I think one thing we've learned through DEI work is that people are comfortable speaking in different types of venues. Some people are perfectly happy to speak up in front of an entire room, and they like that because then it's democratic and everyone's getting the information and everyone has a chance to speak in front of each other at the same time. Some people do better in small groups. And so I think with running board meetings, it has to work that way too. You have to be willing to be flexible and sort of experiment. We do one board meeting each year that's a little bit longer. So I think it's the checking in with people a lot, and trying to keep to a time limit. Those are sort of would be my secrets of what I've learned during being a chair. It's not that you're some brilliant orator who knows, in depth every program area. That's not your job. Your job is to bring that out in others.